This is the podcast of INCACT, the European Network on Cultural Management and Policy. In this series, we interview extraordinary professionals from the cultural management and policy community. Join us to hear their stories, the secrets of their success, and their advice for creating innovation by inspiring new policies and practices in the cultural, education, and research sector.
Good morning and welcome to this episode of NCAT Congress 2022 series. Could you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, I'm Annick Schramme and I'm a professor at the University of Antwerp and I'm responsible for a master's program in cultural management. Besides that, I was also the president of NCATS a few years ago. We are now involved in the REMAM project, that's reinventing mentoring in arts management.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So this is a duo podcast, which I think is very nice. You will hear two voices today. My name is Nathalie Verboven, and I work as a researcher and a teaching assistant at the University of Antwerp, so in very close cooperation with Professor Schramme. Today, we will try and enlighten you a little bit about the project mentoring and education in the cultural and creative sector and look at it from an international perspective because we are part of this international project, this REMAN project, as Professor Schramme already explained. So maybe let's go into why it was important for us to start it. So maybe we should also say we didn't initiate it. So it's a European project, an Erasmus Plus project, which was initiated by Estonia. So in Estonia, there's the leading partner, and we were asked to be a part of this very interesting project because within our Masters on Cultural Management for many years already, for over 20 years, we have been doing a practical project with our students where they, of course, write a master thesis on a specific management question, but they also do an internship within a cultural or creative institution or company. So that way they have a lot of experience already. We try to give them a lot of experience with the actual cultural field, so they get to know the sector in which they will work after they graduate with us. So that way, in a sort of, I think, organic way, we already had this kind of mentoring within our master through this practical project. But on the other hand, we also felt from students that, yes, they are placed within this organization, but sometimes they feel a need to get more support, to get more guidance in making this transition from being a student to actually starting to work in the sector. So also for us, it was very inspiring to look at the other partners within the consortium and how they are looking at mentorship.
Could you please tell us about the project Mentoring in Education in the Culture and Creative Sector and International Perspectives, and why it is important for your organization to start it?
Mentoring is not a new trajectory. It exists already a long time in other sectors, but actually our observation was that mentoring in the cultural and creative sectors was still underdeveloped. Another question that you ask yourself probably is, what is it exactly? So that was also our first question when we started the project. What is it, mentorship, and how is it different from coaching? And actually a main difference, but you have different definitions about it, but a quite important difference is that coaching is more knowledge-based. So you want to learn some competences through someone else, through a coach, while a mentor is really sharing experience and learning by experience. That makes it very different, and therefore it's also so important in the cultural and creative sector because we are very focused on experiences. That's also the reason why we believed in this project. Now, what was for us also very interesting was this international perspective. So as Nathalie said, the project was started by Estonia, our colleagues in Estonia, but there are also other partners. You have another partner is coming from Serbia, and then you have another one from Bilbao, and also Lithuania. And indeed, we are all living in different contexts. And so we see that mentoring in these different countries means something else or has another shape, you could say. What is also important is that in some countries, the focus is more on the development of the professional field, while our focus was more, like in Estonia, on the master's level. So in a formal education setting. So there are some differences. And then, as I said, each country has its own context, and you need to take that into account.
What are the challenges that this project aims to tackle?
I think it also relates to this international perspective. I think very early on in the project, we looked at mentorship in a very broad sense and what all comes into play when you start a mentorship trajectory within a university context. So first and foremost, there's this challenge, this question of professional identity. And professional identity, I think mentorship can play a very important role in forming this professional identity for our students. Of course, identity formation comes from many aspects. It comes from interaction with your peers, but also the context, the learning context at the university. But a mentor can play a very important role in developing this professional identity even before someone enters the professional field. So that way, that's definitely a challenge or a question which we tackled in this project. And I should also mention that the challenges we listed, we also incorporated in a book, which will be published by the end of the project as well. So another question, another challenge, which we incorporated and which we also talk about in the book, are ethical issues. Because of course, setting up a mentorship trajectory, it's all very nice. You want to bring your students into contact with someone more senior who can share their experiences with them. But not everyone is fit to be able to take this mentorship role. You need many skills on one hand, but on the other hand, there's also compassion. There's also being able to make time for this type of things. And I mean, that's just not for everyone, just simply that. But on the other hand, the relationship, since it is very intense, since it is very, I would say, also an intimate relationship, because you get to know each other over quite a short course of time, and you talk about these things which are very personal. I mean, working somewhere, developing your professional identity is quite a personal thing. So this also gives a sort of tension. How far do you go in this conversation? It can never become a therapy session. So these are all elements which come into play in this mentorship trajectory. And of course, due to COVID, we've all been in our houses for 2 years and done almost everything through Zoom or online. And this offers a challenge and an opportunity, we feel, for mentorship, because traditionally you think of mentorship as two people coming together, having a coffee and talking about the future in a way, right? But the online world offered the opportunity to do this online, to also make some systems maybe even more developed, to be able to make it more efficient, these trajectories. But of course, it creates also a distance when there's a screen between you. So again, a tension between possibilities, but on the other hand, also possible pitfalls if you're doing things online. What works well online, what works well offline. So this is also one of the challenges which we tackled. But I think, Annick, you also had some other ones which you wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you, Nathalie. You summarized already very well what are these challenges on professional identity, ethical issues online with opportunities, but also some dangers, because some people find online very distant, but others find it a kind of safe way also. It can create some safety as well, security. So we write about all this in the book that will be published at the end of 2023. Linked to this online mentoring, we have also the challenge of internationalization, of course. It opens up the barriers. So because there is the physical component is not that important, you can have mentoring with people from other countries. But also there, of course, you have different mentalities, different languages, certainly in Europe. So you need to overcome that. But it gives also a lot of opportunities. A lot people with your pool is expanding, of course, and you can really make these transnational connections, and that can be really interesting learning experience for the mentee. Linked to that, we think also, and that's also a challenge on the legal level, that mentoring as such has not a real legal statute, and it's often confused with coaching, as I said already. So I think it would be a really good thing, a challenge, if Europe could create a kind of statute for mentorship. I think it would help a lot of people and a lot of cultural managers in developing their professional identity.
Yeah, would also be very good, I think, for quality as well of mentoring to ensure this.
Absolutely.
What are for you the most important lessons that you have learned so far from this project?
I think there's quite a lot for us just also on our own master's program that we would like to incorporate. I think one of the important things actually comes from our partners in Serbia, because they have a lot of experience in doing mentorship trajectories, but outside of a university context. But it's inspiring to look at them. And I think something that we took definitely from them is the importance of guiding at the beginning. If you set something up like this, it's important to inform mentees as well as mentors what they can expect from this trajectory. How long will it take? How often do they need to see each other? Setting up the beginning where they get to know each other as well, being able to have this space together. But I think afterwards, there's definitely an opportunity to make this more self-steering, so that people get to come into contact with each other, where it can become a community in itself, these mentors and mentees. So I think that's really a learning point, the importance of investing in it as an organization in the beginning, but then letting it develop into something which is larger than just you as a master's program itself. So I think that's an important one.
I totally agree. It was impressive indeed to see how in Serbia there is really an autonomous institute that is doing nothing else than mentoring and setting up these trajectories, and it's really successful. We learned a lot about that. And that's, of course, also linked to the idea of lifelong learning, because as a master's program, you have these students 1 or 2 years under your supervision, but then it doesn't stop. You could say it starts for them and their growing process. So you explained that very well, how it is at one hand from the perspective of the organizer, you had to set it up, but then they have to take it forward themselves. What I also learned from this project is that mentoring is not one direction, it's mutual. So it's not only the mentor who shares his or her experiences with the mentee, and the mentee is the younger one who learns from the older one. No, it's really also the mentor can learn from the mentee, because it's a younger generation, they have another view on the world, certainly from an international perspective. So this mutuality is really important, and it also respond to some ethical questions. So because you then balance more the power relation. It's not one who has the power and the other who has to learn from the mentor. No, it's really mutual. So that was also something that was very important until now, I think.
You've been coordinating and developing a cultural management curriculum in the last years. What are the challenges and chances of the sector, in your opinion?
We always need to take into account the broader challenges and changes within society and within the cultural sector. And of course, the cultural and creative sectors are also hit very hard by the crisis. It's not only COVID, but also the energy crisis, the war. So for cultural manager, it's really important to stay always open to these changes, to be agile, to look for collaboration, to be a change maker as well. And also, these are challenges that are reinforced by the crises, but that were already there. the sustainability issue, how can we address that, and the digital. And I think also from a mentoring point of view, we see that the knowledge that we transfer in our master programs is also changing very fast. So it is really necessary to keep you informed, to grow all the time. So it is a kind of iterative process in order to respond to the needs of the sector. That's really important, I think. Yeah, maybe you think of others, but these competences and skills of agility, playing different roles, to be flexible, it's also features that fit very well with entrepreneurship. So we are still a cultural management program, but more and more we also teach them about entrepreneurship, because I think it is related to each other. It's different, but it's also related to each other. And I think these entrepreneurial skills will be more important in the future.
Yeah, whether or not our students work within an organization and it becomes more entrepreneurial, or they start their own thing. And I think it's also something that we see. We have a lot of students coming from a more artistic background, wanting to start their own dance collective or something like that. So it's important for us to give this knowledge to them as well, that they have the skill set to be able to do that. So yeah, I agree.
Do you have experience with mentoring? If yes, who was your mentor? If not, are you considering starting mentoring for your future developments?
When it comes to mentoring and our own experience in it, I think people might wonder if we ourselves were mentored in the past. I think for myself, I should say no, not in a formal context. I, of course, quite a couple of years ago already did our own master program at the university, and I did this practical project as well. But I think for me, Annick, I should say you are you're my most important mentor. So yeah, I think even in a work context, I mean, these relationships can also be informal, and it's nice, but it's not always a given. I think that that within an organization, someone who you work closely with, someone who is your senior, also becomes a mentor for you. So I think I'm very lucky that you are that to me. But we should be clear that it's not a given. So yeah.
No, but that's the other way around. As I said, it's mutual. So I learn also from you. You're a younger generation. You have also fresh ideas. Yeah. So in a way, there is also a good match, because that's also something that we didn't
True.
discuss. Yes, it's really important that there is a kind of match. Therefore, you need this direction in the beginning, because the success is really depending on this good match. And I think we have a good match.
Yes, I think so too.
Yes, I love that as well. So, and also, yeah, when I was young, mentoring, yeah, probably I had mentors, but not in a formal way.
Yeah.
But as you say, we don't have to formalize it too much. We can organize it, we can make it possible. But if you formalize it too much, I don't think that's good for the project itself. It's always this balance between steering and self-management.
What do you think can be the best follow-up for this project?
For the future, I think there is an important role on an international level to take that forward in order to make the cultural and creative sectors within Europe more strong, more robust. And because we know that it is a sector with a lot of diversity, strength, but also weakness, with a lot of small organizations and companies, SMEs. And so it's really good to learn from each other from a European perspective. And I think NCATS is the best place, organization, network, to take that forward. So if we would think of a follow-up of the Rehman project, I think we should talk with NCATS. What do you think, Nathalie?
I agree completely. I think especially if we want this international community of mentors and being able for many universities, many programs to benefit from this project, I think there's a very interesting role for NCAT to play in this. So I agree, but I think also on a more micro level for ourselves, for our own program, and maybe also this can be inspiring for others too, is we want to really develop this mentoring project also for our alumni, to be able to link them to our program program for a longer time, but also to be able to help them even after they've graduated. They can learn from our students the other way around. Maybe they can also mentor each other within the alumni network. So yeah, that's something also that would be a very interesting follow-up to this, I think.
Yeah, that's absolutely part of our plan to roll it out, or how do you say that, to develop that further for our alumni, because the advantage is of our master that the community of cultural managers is scalable. And I think we should be a kind of laboratory for this kind of innovative learning.
I totally agree. And then I just want to thank everyone who listens to our podcast today. I hope it was interesting to you. And yeah, always happy to be contacted in the future if you're looking into mentoring yourself. So yeah, wishing you a good day.
Also from my part, good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the podcast of INCACT, the European Network on Cultural Management and Policy. To learn more about us, our activities, and how to become a member, visit incact.org.